I've been reviewing skincare online for years now, and I think I've reached the point where I'm genuinely quite difficult to impress. Not because products have gotten worse in any way, I still like colourful things and like nice packaging, and if anything, skincare is better than it's ever been. Formulas are much more sophisticated now, ingredients are a lot better understood by consumers and the brand themselves, and consumers have access to more information than ever before. The problem is that skincare has become incredibly loud, show-offy almost. Like every week there's a product you're apparently missing out on, which is kind of how it's always been, but recently it just feels like what it used to be, but times a million and extra fast. Do you know what I mean? And after a while, I just feel like everything just starts to blur together. I think most of us bought something because everybody online was talking about it. And even I fall for that. Like, not that the product was bad, like it was fine, but it's not like skin life-changing in any way, just fine. Then everyone moves on to the next thing. Anyway, I've definitely done it myself. There have been products I bought because I thought, no, everyone really seems to love this. Maybe I am missing out on something, even though I know better. I use them and realize they just weren't made for my skin, and that's okay. At the same time, some of my favorite products have become incredibly popular online, so I don't think virality automatically means something is overhyped. And that's what made me interested in Centellian 24. And huge shout out to Centellian 24 for sponsoring today's video. Now, they have gone slightly viral, but very organically, not in the way we see products go viral to this day. If you are a long-term kbeauty user, you may actually recognize this product more so than the products I'm going to talk about today. This was my first Centellian 24 product, but they are a derma-pharmacy brand created by Dongkook Pharmaceutical, which is a South Korean company established in 1968. Long before Centella became a trending ingredient online, Dongkook Pharmaceutical had already spent decades researching skin recovery and barrier support through products like Madeca, I think it's pronounced. This is one of Korea's most recognized wound healing ointments. I wonder if that's like the pseudo cream. I can't say the word, pseudo cream of us. Centellian 24 isn't a brand that suddenly appeared because Centella Asiatica became popular or because they bought influencers online. It's a pharmaceutical-based derma-pharmacy brand built around decades of research into Centella and skin repair. And I find that interesting. I like that. Pharmaceutical heritage, as I mentioned, doesn't automatically mean every product will work for everyone. No brand can promise that, right? But it does change how I think about credibility. It tells me there's a clear philosophy behind the products. There's less pressure to chase like every trend because the brand already knows what it stands for, which is what I used to love about kbeauty. And in an industry that's becoming increasingly loud and noisy, I think that's incredibly valuable, no? So yeah, their expertise in skin recovery and barrier support eventually evolved into Centellian 24, so bringing that same pharmaceutical knowledge of their ointment into everyday skincare. So the products I have actually been testing from Centellian 24 is their Madeca Cream Time Reverse. If you've been watching this channel for years, you know Centella for me is one of my go-tos, especially with easy irritated skin, how much I test skincare products and my rosacea. It's just a given for me that Centella has to be my routine somewhere. Now, apparently they've sold more than 95 million units of this in Korea, which is a lot. It's also one of the top selling products at Olive Young in Korea and has built a loyal customer base over many years. The category of top selling in Korea on Olive Young Global on the website is my go-to category because it's a really good mix of firm favorites and new and upcoming products, and that's how I actually discovered this brand in the first place. But the numbers alone don't convince me anymore. What's best-selling doesn't convince me anymore. What matters is whether the product actually delivers, and after using it consistently, I can understand why it's become such a staple. The hero ingredient in here is of course TICA, which stands for titrated extract of Centella Asiatica. Now, we hear about Centella all the time in skincare. It's one of those ingredients that is everywhere, but for a very good reason. But TICA is a much more concentrated extract that has been developed through Dongkook Pharmaceutical's research into Centella Asiatica. The idea behind it is to support skin recovery, soothe irritation, and strengthen the skin barrier. The cream also contains multiple Centella-derived ingredients alongside madecassoside and what the brand calls active TICA technology, which uses liposomes to help deliver those ingredients more effectively. Again, this is where that pharmaceutical background comes becomes important to me. It isn't simply about putting that ingredient on the front of packaging. It's about understanding how to formulate with it properly and effectively. Texture-wise, this sits somewhere between like a barrier cream and a richer moisturizer without being heavy. As somebody with combination skin, I can happily use this throughout the day without feeling greasy on my oily T-zone. And although it does give your skin a nice healthy glow, it doesn't leave that thick, greasy layer that some richer creams can. It spreads very, very easily, absorbs pretty quickly too, and layers very nicely over the rest of my routine. I usually use these kind of creams in the evening, only because I tend to use my sunscreen as a moisturizer in the morning. And I don't just use this when my skin is like dehydrated, sensitive, or stressed out. I use these creams, barrier support creams, as maintenance. Like, I just use them consistently all the time. That's one thing I think that's changed my skin the most, is I don't just go on the repair when my skin needs repairing. I just keep it helped all the time. That's not a phrase. I just try and soothe and repair the whole time. You know, what harm can you do? If you watch this channel for a while, you know my skin can be quite reactive. I deal with a lot of redness. I can overdo it with active sometimes, and my skin just needs products that focus on comfort rather than correction. And this is one of those creams. What I love about this most is the feeling of long-term support. It feels like the kind of product you keep repurchasing and reaching for because your skin responds so well to it. Again, it's nothing like, no offense to the brand, but it doesn't look exciting. It has that pharmaceutical feel to it without being stuffy and boring, but it's just one of those products that like you don't really notice you're using until you finish the tube and you're like, oh, I was actually using that a lot. Like, I use that all the time. I also had a really good look through verified customer reviews, because I think consistency across different experiences matters nowadays too. And the themes, I guess you can say, that I kept noticing coming up in the reviews were comfort, hydration, and skin feeling stronger over time. Would I repurchase this? Yes, but not yet, because I'm going to Korea in 2 weeks' time. I'll be buying it in Olive Young. Another cream I've been enjoying on and off, honestly, I've not used it as much as this one, is the Expert Madeca Cream Active Renew PDRN. So this combines Dongkook Pharmaceutical's Tika with its standardized extract of Centellia asiatica with multiple sources of PDRN and damask rose water. I think we've heard of that before in another brand. I can't remember where from, I don't know. What topical PDRN can do is support hydration, improve the appearance of skin smoothness, and work alongside barrier supporting ingredients to leave your skin looking healthier and more resilient over time. For me, the real strength of this formula is of course the combination of ingredients rather than any one ingredient alone. You got Tika and Madagascar again to help calm visible redness and support the skin barrier, good old-fashioned humectants to address dehydration, and a richer cream texture that helps lock everything in. This is gonna be, hang on, if you've ever used a kbeauty product that describes itself as a firming cream, typical night cream, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's cushiony. It has this elastic feel that wraps the skin without feeling greasy or suffocating is what I mean. I'm really into eye creams at the moment. I have been for the last couple of years. I always say one of my biggest regrets as somebody in my late 30s now is that I didn't start using eye creams. Are eye creams just expensive, overpriced moisturizers? I don't think so. Not nowadays, especially when they are affordable. What I love about eye creams is they can have different concentrations and particular ingredients that are very specifically targeted to the thinner, more delicate skin under the eye. The 360 shot PDRN lifting eye cream is really nice. I'll be honest with you, I've not used this one as much as the other creams. Now, no topical product is going to dramatically lift the eye area overnight or completely erase deep set wrinkles or hollows. What they can do is hydrate the skin, temporarily improve the look of fine lines, reduce the appearance of puffiness, and help support the skin over time. Again, in this formula, we have Tika with multiple forms of PDRN, peptides, collagen, and a triple retinol system. We all know retinols have some of the strongest evidence behind them when it comes to improving the appearance of fine lines and supporting collagen production over time. So I like seeing these types of ingredients included in an eye product, especially as I mentioned, formulated for that delicate skin around the eye area. It uses liposomal retinol technology, which can improve the stability of the retinol whilst reducing the likelihood of irritation. Texture-wise, this has a very lightweight gel cream. feel to it with a almost like gooey, kind of stringy texture. It absorbs super quick, layers so well under sunscreen and makeup, and gives the under eye area a really hydrated, smoother appearance. One thing I will be using consistently though is the Madeca Derma Shield Vital Dewy Sunscreen. You know, people always say the best sunscreen is the one you'll actually wear every single day and use enough of. And for a lot of people, texture is a deciding factor. And this feels more like a moisturizer than a traditional sunscreen, even more so. You know, most sunscreens feel like moisturizers nowadays, but they still have that like sunscreen edge to them. This one just feels more like a moisturizer. Lightweight, watery, creamy, spreads easily, absorbs quickly, and leaves the skin looking hydrated and naturally radiant rather than dewy and glowy. No white cast because it's chemical, no sticky finish, really nice under makeup. The addition of barrier supporting ingredients means it feels a lot more comfortable. There are very few chemical sunscreens I can use when my skin is feeling irritated, my rosacea's flaring up. Often I will just avoid going out if that is the case, but sometimes I can't help it and I have to put my sunscreen on. And this has become one of those sunscreens that I know I could put on my skin and be absolutely fine. For me, the biggest compliment I can give a sunscreen is that I want to wear it every single day. And this is the kind of formula that I do use every day just because it's a nice sunscreen. There are a lot of new innovations in sunscreen, a lot of new delivery systems, things in nice packaging. But I look at them and I'm like, you're kind of annoying to use. I got a serum sunscreen. Where is it? I got a serum sunscreen recently that just isn't fun to use. I don't know if I'm using enough. It feels sticky. This is just nice, moisturizing, slightly dewy, definitely worth reaching for if you just like a sunscreen to be a sunscreen. What I love overall is that these skincare products feel like they were all created to suit a skincare need first and to fit into social media second, not even second. It's like, you know, it's like they didn't even think about that. Because the brands shouldn't be thinking about that, you know? Just like the good old days of K-beauty. And I think that's a really important distinction for me nowadays, because we've reached a point where skincare isn't suffering from a lack of innovation. It's everywhere. I like silent innovation though, like different kind of complexes, you know? How are they using one of the most used ingredients in all of K-beauty and making it interesting and different, and the authority on that ingredient, you know? I think the issue is that social media has changed the way we judge products. A product going viral doesn't tell you whether it's actually good or effective in any way. It tells you whether it performed well on social media, and that's about it. Those two things are completely different things, obviously. But over the last few years, the questions I ask myself have changed a lot. Instead of asking whether a product is popular, I find myself asking why the brand made it in the first place. Who's behind the brand? What experience do they have? What problem is that brand trying to solve? Because any brand can put a trending ingredient into a nice bottle, send it out to influencers and create a viral moment. Building trust takes much longer than that. And trust has become the thing I care about the most now. Not whether a product goes viral for a few weeks, but whether the company behind it actually knows what it's talking about, to be honest with you. I'm also just finding, like, as I get older, I don't know if this is relevant in any way, but I like to look at the brands that have built a long legacy of trust with customers. Customer reviews have always been useful. I like to know that trust was built up slowly and based on consumer feedback and not from influencers online. I'm shooting myself in the foot here, but you know what I mean. If you're on TikTok, you know what I mean. You know, you can't look at the packaging or an advert and tell that this is a well-trusted brand. It's something that's built over years. And I think that's what a lot of consumers are looking for now. We're not struggling to find products anymore. There are so many. If anything, there are too many products. What people are struggling with is knowing which products deserve their attention, particularly in K-beauty. As a lifelong user of Korean skincare, one thing I noticed recently is that products can become huge internationally while barely being used or talked about in Korea itself. Now, that doesn't mean a lot. That doesn't automatically mean they're bad products in any way. Some are very, very good. But it does make me question how much of skincare marketing is built around creating the impression of popularity rather than actual consumer demand. Terms like Korean bestseller or Korean favorite get thrown around constantly, and sometimes those claims are actually true. Sometimes they're not. I think knowing what's popular in Korea is interesting and not interesting at the same time. A good product is a good product, whether it's popular in Korea or not. But I think people are interested in what's popular in Korea because it's usually an early indication of what the next big viral thing is going to be over here in the West. But as consumers, we're kind of expected to navigate all that while also dealing with endless launches, endless ingredient trends, and endless recommendations. It is exhausting. And again, I know I'm part of this as an influencer, but I'm still just as much as a consumer. And I guess I find skincare to be more of a hobby than anything. So I quite like navigating the space, but for an average consumer, it's too much. A few years ago, everyone needed snail mucin. And you know, it's still a good ingredient. Then rice toner, still a really, really good ingredient. Now we're looking at things like NM. Now we're looking at things like MNM, exosomes. Before you've even worked out whether one ingredient works for your skin or what it actually was, we're already being told to move on to the next big thing. Again, this has always been a thing, but it's just so much faster nowadays. I think that's why so many people are experiencing viral skincare fatigue. We become harder to impress. And I think that's a good thing. I think that's a really good thing because it forces us to ask better questions. So, you know, instead of thinking like, you know, oh my God, why does everybody love this product? I better buy it myself and have a look at it. I look at the product, I'm like, who is this brand? Why do they even exist? Anybody can create that viral product because you can buy your way to being viral nowadays. That's why brands with a genuine background in dermatology or pharmaceutical research always catch my attention. They're not the ones I just go for, but I'm always a little bit more intrigued. Not because pharmaceutical heritage automatically means every product will work for everyone. That's not how skincare works, but it usually means there's a reason the brand exists beyond creating the next viral moment. Now tell me if I'm on my own here, but I feel like a lot of us used to use shortcuts when deciding what products we could trust, if you know what I mean. And one of those shortcuts for me was kbeauty. A few years ago, if something was Korean skincare, that was almost enough for me. Like enough for me to buy it, enough for me to be interested on it, because kbeauty built its reputation on genuinely good products at affordable prices. The formulas felt innovative, the textures were way ahead of what a lot of Western brands were doing, and there was a real focus on skin health rather than trying to aggressively fix every perceived flaw. The messaging felt very different too. Everything was more about long-term goals, and consistency, you know, hydration, barrier support, and making skincare enjoyable, like a really enjoyable part of your day. People trusted kbeauty because it felt authentic. But success changes people, changes industries, and as kbeauty exploded globally, thousands of new brands appeared almost pretty much overnight. Brands were raking in money like nothing we've ever seen before and spewing out products like nothing we've ever seen before. Social media became the primary way people discovered products, and then suddenly kbeauty stopped being a philosophy, in my opinion, and started becoming a marketing category. Now, that doesn't mean kbeauty got worse. Far from it, actually. Some of my favorite skincare products are still Korean skincare products. In fact, all of them are. What changed was the way skincare is marketed. We've gone from discovering products organically to products being designed specifically for virality and to catch our attention. We've gone from trusting expertise to trusting social proof. We've gone from asking what problem does a product solve to asking will this look good on TikTok. I've mentioned this before, but I think it's worth mentioning again. And I think that's where a lot of this fatigue comes from. Social media rewards novelty, I guess you can say nowadays, and good skincare isn't always novelty. Okay, the kbeauty industry isn't suffering from a lack of innovation, it's suffering from a lack of trust. Consumers aren't struggling to find products, they're struggling to know which products deserve their attention and hype for real, you know, for real. No one's impressed by a product going viral, it's just a given nowadays. So that's why these brands that are very, very popular, but maybe aren't going crazy viral for all the wrong reasons on TikTok, are actually becoming cult favorites because they just work and prioritize results over viral visibility. Again, viral products aren't bad. Some of them are viral for very good reasons, but popularity isn't evidence of anything. Aesthetic packaging isn't expertise in any way. Millions of views aren't years of research. The brands that stand out to me now are the ones who know exactly what they're doing, why they're doing it, and have years of that behind them. Because all those brands that were built for virality, those products, let's be honest, they're probably going to be discontinued in a couple of years' time. When you find a favorite moisturizer or a favorite product, you need it to stick around because your skin needs it. this is going to be that product. When trends move this quickly, trust becomes the thing people value most. And I think that's something the skincare industry needs a lot more of nowadays. Let me know in the comments what makes you trust a skincare brand nowadays, because I think for a lot of us, it has changed. Is it reviews, clinical testing, brand heritage? Let me know. I will link all these Centellian 24 products in the comments down below. And again, thank you so much to Centellian 24 for sponsoring today's video. And yes, hopefully I will see you next time.